The Unconventional Therapist's Guide to Nothing.
Hey everyone, we are the Unconventional Therapists, and this is your guide to nothing. Where each and every week we take a topic, theme, or thing, overanalyze it, and make it all make sense in the scheme of life, living, and mental health. My name is Dave. I am joined here with my co-host Greg, aka Dr. Love.
Oh, there's a lover boy.
No, you always think I'm going to say something different.
Yeah,
You have a lot of expectations.
I do, and you never
need to tone them down. You know,
Dave. When I think of this week's subject, it invokes feelings of, well, it makes me think of reservations, flowers, chocolates, those little chalky candies that say "be mine," which kind of is a little problematic. But of course, we're talking about Valentine's Day.
What kind of reservations do you think of? Like Native American reservations, like having reservations about
restaurant.
Things? That kind.
Oh, David, I don't mean to offend you. When I say Valentine's Day, because of your Catholic guilt, I'm sure you prefer Saint Valentine's Day.
Of course.
Yeah, right. Make sure.
Duh.
Didn't mean to offend. So what do you want to take it from the top? Like this reminds me of our Christmas episodes. How?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. When I was looking into this, I was like, I don't know what I was expecting as far as an origin story for Valentine's Day. I kind of like wanted to do this because I genuinely wanted to learn about this, which I think is a great way for us to approach any episode. If we really know nothing and we're just inquisitive, I think those tend to be the ones that I like the most in the end because I feel accomplished, but I also have like now a ton of stuff that nobody cares about that I can bring up at parties I don't go to, or
I've already brought it up to people. And the thing is, I think people don't care about Valentine's Day, and maybe we can change that a little bit.
Well, you know what? I think that's probably the thing that I agree with you on for this, like the most, is that once I did this, I was like, oh, so that idea of a Hallmark holiday is pretty inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a genuine thing.
Genuinely old. A genuine old holiday.
Genuinely awesome.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I don't know. Why don't you take us to the pagan origins and we'll see how awesome it is.
Yeah. So again, like similar to Christmas, we have something that's kind of rooted in a pagan tradition. So we have the pagan festival Lupercalia that this is essentially thought to be originated from. So Lupercalia is, Greg, did you hear about Lupercalia? Because when I was reading about this, I was like, wow, this is right up Greg's alley. He's going to love this.
I am? Why? I've heard of it. It's a festival to purify the city and promotes health and especially fertility.
Yes. So it's all about fertility. It's celebrated at the Ides of February, which is February 15th-ish, I guess you would say. And it's dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, as well as the Roman founders Romulus and Remus, who I thought were just cartoon characters. I didn't even know that they were Greek mythology.
Those are wolves, dude. And you know what? Romulus ate Remus, and that's why.
Spoiler alert! I said I didn't know about it.
Okay. Well, you know what it reminds me of? That's very biblical too, because it's harkens to the Cain and Abel story. So you can see these mimics.
I was thinking the same exact thing. It's so crazy. It's so crazy you just said that right now. We're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, Romulus and Remus. And what are the things that they do? There's some kind of ritual.
They float in baskets down rivers.
Okay.
So when they were babies, isn't that what happened? They floated. They were like discarded. But the gods kind of watched out for them and they floated, and like the god of the river like guided them to safety.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
This is not the educational piece right here. No. This is literally us just riffing.
Yeah.
Right off the dome piece.
Good guys. Good guys.
So yeah, let's get away from Romulus and Remus for a little bit. The word Remus kind of makes me uncomfortable too. So, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's the one that died. He's obviously the weaker link.
Yeah, he just got rid of him to get that name out of the way. It's like, geez.
It's embarrassing.
So members of the Luperci, which sounds like some kind of fraternal order, which was an order of Roman priests, they would gather at a sacred cave where the infants Romulus and his bro Remus, who are the founders of Rome, were believed to have been cared for by a she-wolf or a lupa. Because Lupercalia, the stem word there is lupin, which is something about wolves, right?
Right. It's like yes, absolutely. It's the root word is
right. Let me give you more details. Oh wait, I have none.
Well, I was gonna, you know, what I was gonna do. I was gonna talk about as on like lichens and lichens being
werewolves. Yeah.
Werewolves. Yeah.
Were you gonna school me on werewolves, Greg?
I thought about it.
You forget
I was like, but I was like, I better not go there with Dave. I mean, yeah, if it's Dracula and werewolves and anything like that, I better just stay away.
All right. So this festival gets pretty turned. So they end up in this festival, they slaughter a goat for fertility and a dog for purification. And I believe it's more than one goat. I think it's multiple goats.
Many goats, one dog.
One dog.
The thing was, because it's so connected to Romulus and Remus, I bet that they wanted it to be a wolf, but wolves are a lot harder to get than a dog.
You're like, oh, we couldn't get a wolf this year. I got this dog.
Let's just make it a dog, all right? Because what job it was to get a wolf is always has a hard time.
Worse though, like worse. Why would you do that to a dog?
I know, Dave. I know you're an animal lover, and I know this hurts you.
Like, why not a human? You know,
but there was a reason for it.
Purification.
Well, they had to make those women fertile.
Oh, well, no, the dog part, though, is because of purification. The goats, yeah, that's fertility right there. Oh, so okay. They strip the goats' hides and they like rip the hides up into strip pieces, I guess. They
give everyone a piece.
Yeah, they dip them in sacrificial blood and they take to the streets and they start gently slapping both the ladies and the crop fields with the goat hide.
I didn't read anywhere gently. I think you added that in because you're a romantic and you love this Valentine's Day. But I don't think there was any.
No, like, I actually heard it in one. I heard it was like gently. In another, I heard it can actually vary.
Yeah, it varies for sure. It varies,
but they're not hating it, Greg. They ain't hating it.
Those words don't go like you can't gently whip.
But they wanted it, Greg.
No.
Wait, that felt wrong even saying out loud. Yeah. I did not mean it that way. No, anyways, they wanted to be whipped because they wanted that fertility. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the science is loose on that. You know, is that really creating a fertile situation? Or maybe there's some coincidence.
Mind over matter, Greg.
Do you know that during this
they can be it?
That's I believe that. You know I believe that. Don't step on that. You know I believe that.
Use my own lingo.
So I think that there's another side of this where they had to they're fertile, and now we had to start doing the things that you do when you're fertile. And I don't know if you read this, but they all put their names in a bucket.
Yeah, and the women's names go into an urn. The men pick them out. They get matched up with the woman, and that's kind of like that's going to be your mating partner. A lot of the times that ends in marriage, which is great. Sometimes I guess it just ends in a good time. I don't know. So that's one of the variations I heard. There was something else that I can't remember. Did you hear any other variations? Or
no, that was it for me.
What you heard? Okay,
I think that was it. Which is plenty.
Sure. Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good.
So this is going on. Everyone's having a blast.
Yeah.
And who peeks over and sees everyone having a good time and says, "No."
Oh, well, if it isn't the old Catholic Church.
Every single time pagans are having a good time. The Catholics are like, enough already.
So here's why. All right. So I'm just going to say, and I think we had to do this a lot in the Christmas story. We have all these like stories that we're going to be able to tell you. There is so much that is unproven, unfounded, and probably just fabricated because it sounds like a cool story. So take everything you hear, I guess, kind of with a grain of salt. But a lot of this does make sense as far as this part with the Catholic Church. So Pope Gelasius I, he is one that they kind of credit with combining Lupercalia with St. Valentine's Day in order to get rid of those pagan rituals. So it's kind of like Christmas, where we have the pagan festival. What was it called?
Saturnalia.
Yes. Yep. So we had the pagan festival. They wanted to get rid of that, so they turn it into a Catholic thing. So same thing here. We kind of combine this idea of like mating, I guess, but we make it more into like a romantic thing. But our goal is for that end result, which is marriage, because the Catholic religion was really big on the idea of couples like uniting, correct?
Right.
So that's kind of their goal here. Again, not a lot of this can really be substantiated. So
another part of that is the Emperor Claudius, the Roman emperor, he didn't want Roman soldiers getting married because.
So this is another part that's like, again, it's like the Santa Claus thing. So we have Saint Valentine is who it's said to be named after, but there are multiple Saint Valentines. So there is not a real definitive answer as to which Saint Valentine this holiday is actually named after. There's 3 that are kind of presented as being the most likely. 2 out of 3 of them have a pretty cool story. The third one, there's not really a story, except for a connection to that Emperor Claudius, the second you were just mentioning.
Yeah.
So the first one, I'll get to the one you were just about to mention.
Okay.
So he was a 3rd century priest, Saint Valentinus in Rome. Emperor Claudius II decides that single men make better soldiers than those with wives or families. So he outlaws marriage for young people, or particularly young men.
Cruel, kind of, but probably true.
I would imagine they make much better soldiers if
Way
they
better.
don't have
and then you don't have to elsewhere. And then you don't have to pay all those benefits to the family.
Sure. So Valentinus decides to defy Claudius, and he starts to marry young couples in secret, which ends up becoming at some point known to Claudius, who has him beheaded. So that's Valentinus number 1.
Maybe Claudius had him beheaded because he thought that he was marrying, ruining all their lives. Now you're all married.
It's like, why would you do that? Why would you punish them? Valentinus number 2 is a bishop from of Terni, Saint Valentine of Terni, I guess. I don't have a story for him. I didn't really get anything about him, other than he was also beheaded by Claudius II as well. So yeah, he must have been doing something.
Probably
something along those lines. The third one was a 3rd century Valentinus who was arrested for being Christian. He was punished by having to be a servant, pretty much. But he actually has this cool moment where he, like what they call those saint moments, where a saint has to perform some kind of miracle in order to become a saint.
Yeah.
So his miracle was the daughter of the household that he is like punished to be the servant of is blind. And the father of the daughter says, if you can cure her blindness, I'll have the whole family baptized. Apparently, Saint Valentine, Saint Valentino. Apparently, he ends up he puts his hand over her face, or he touches her eyeballs with his pinky. I don't know. He does something, and he cures her blindness.
Wow.
So the guy ends up, living up to his word, and he has the entire family baptized. Emperor Gothicus just finds out about this, sentences him to death. So there's a bad result for all of the Valentines.
That's very Gothic of him. I wonder if he shops at Hot Topicus.
So aside from curing her blindness, he sends the girl that he cured her blindness of, he sent her a note just kind of saying like, you're welcome, maybe. I guess like
you had something in your eye. I got it out.
Wasn't that really sick when I cured your blindness? And then he signs it, your Valentinus.
Oh,
which
the origin.
If we look at that, this could be the Valentine right there.
Right.
This could be Saint Valentine. Yeah, could be my Valentine. It seems like that's an easy translation right there.
I would say so. And what is Valentine? What is that, like Mike back then? Is that the most common name ever? There's 3 Valentines. Is it a last name or is that a first? Like what?
It was. I think it was pretty common, as well as Sinterklaas. Those were like the most common ones, I believe.
Yeah,
common names.
Back then, that was it.
It really was.
So is that where we're at for the Catholic origins as well?
Well, those are the Valentines who possibly, what was his name? Glaucius or whatever his name was. Those were the Valentines that apparently he wanted to combine with Lupercalia to make this new Catholic holiday.
Okay.
All right. I was just going to mention that the reason it comes to this time of the year, do you know?
I don't.
Okay. Well, there you have the pagan tradition time that we were just talking about. There's also the idea that he was whichever Valentine is, maybe all of them were all killed around mid-February. So that's another thought. But also in the Middle Ages in France and England, the February 14th was said to be the first day of bird mating season.
Oh, that's funny that you say that, because there's a Chaucer poem.
Yes.
Right? Yep. And his poem essentially describes that's the day they choose their mates for the year. And I think Chaucer's an awesome topic at one point, because he does those Canterbury Tales and it's all tied up in the 7 deadly sins. But yeah, we'll talk more about a little more of the romanticized stuff when we talk about why we love. But I think that's really cool tie-in to how it's gone from the pagans doing the things they do where they tie it into sex, they get right to the point, and the Catholics try to like romanticize it and make it a little more it's still about sex, but outwardly it's about romance and love, which is essentially, I don't know, is it the same thing? Dave, what I spent my time digging in on, and this is you're gonna have to bear with me for a little bit because this might take a few, is a little mythology. Because often when it's Valentine's Day and you go to CVS or something, you see a little baby with a little bow and arrow shooting around, and that's Cupid, and he's sort of the face of Valentine's Day, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of like the spokesman.
Yeah, he's definitely he's a part of it.
He's much cooler than like the New Year's baby.
I don't even understand the New Year's baby at all. That's got to be
just like a baby, like in some kind of like banner with a top hat.
Yeah, what's that about?
What are you doing?
I know there's like home videos of my grandfather in a diaper wearing a top hat, and it was like funny, but I never got it.
As an adult?
He was the New Year's baby. Yeah, that was his thing.
As an adult?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you don't think of funny jokes when you're a baby, Dave.
Did you take on that role?
I'm thinking about it.
Did the tradition pass on to you?
I'm going to wear it, and I'm going to do the polar plunge.
Okay.
But again, Cupid isn't, because nothing says like romance like a little baby in a bow and arrow, right? But truth be told, Cupid wasn't just a little baby. Well, maybe at one point he was, but he grew up to be a very handsome man. And there's a tale of Cupid and Psyche, and I think that it hits so many sort of fairy tale tropes, and hopefully you can pick up on some of this. And it's a little long, but it's very interesting. I think it's kind of cool, and I'll try to like give you the synopsis the best I can. Okay. Do you mind if I run you through this story, Dave?
Just do it, please.
Okay. Like get it over with? Okay. That's the vibe I'm getting from you. Like I get it over with. Okay. I can do that. So Psyche, this is a story of Cupid and Psyche. Psyche was a beautiful mortal, and the god Venus became very jealous of her because no one was coming to worship her in her temples. Now, Cupid is Venus's son, and they sort of have this weird incestuous relationship, and he represents unrestrained passion. His arrows can make people fall in love. So she's jealous. Venus is jealous, and she wants Cupid to make Psyche fall in love with someone as a punishment, like a monster or a bad guy or something. So she sends Cupid down to do the thing he does with his arrow, and he accidentally pricks her with the arrow. no innuendo there, Dave. And struck by her beauty, because she was incredibly beautiful, he pricks himself too by accident. So now he's in love with her, right?
Yep.
So immediately he feels bad for trying to make her feel bad, to try to ruin her life. So he douses her with his joyful water. I mean, do with that whatever you want. So Psyche, he's gone, and Psyche is lonely. Everyone's intimidated by her. No one wants to marry her. She doesn't have anyone to be with. And so the parents go to the Oracle of Apollo to find out why she's destined to be alone. And the Oracle tells them she's destined to marry a winged monster. So she accepts her fate and she goes up to the mountains and she falls asleep, but she wakes up in a beautiful palace and she hears a voice and it says, all you see is yours. There's dinner whenever you want. There's invisible servants. And every night she gets an encounter from this, what she thinks is possibly a monster, but she feels his face and it doesn't feel like a monster. She has sex with him and he's not very monster-like, and they talk all night and they have a good time. And eventually she becomes pregnant. So her sisters come and visit her and they are jealous because one sister is married to a sickly old man and the other one is married to a young man, but he's got boils and he's very weak. And they realize that she is married to a god, and they pretend to be upset and they pretend to cry. And they tell her that she's actually married to that monster that she was warned about. And they give her a knife and a lantern. So at night, when Cupid comes to visit her, she lights the lantern and sees the most handsome man she's ever seen. It's Cupid, right? So she accidentally stabs herself with one of his arrows. And now she's in love with him even more than he's in love with her. But she accidentally spills some of the lantern oil on Cupid and he gets all burnt. And Cupid is upset because he had warned her not to listen to anybody else. Just because you can't see me, you have to trust me. And Cupid says that your punishment is going to be losing me. So Psyche's sad, of course, and she tries to take her own life, but the river won't let her. And then she tries to take her own life a few other times, but various inanimate objects keep preventing her from doing so, right? So finally, Psyche goes to Venus and says, I am so sorry. Please help me get Cupid back. And Venus has her do a variety of unreasonable Rumpelstiltskin-like tasks where you like sort the grain by the morning, but a bunch of ants help her do it. She has to get the golden fleece from a bunch of golden rams, and she keeps getting helped by either mythological creatures or inanimate objects that somehow come to life. In the end, Cupid missed Psyche and he finds her, hears of her troubles. They go to Zeus or Jupiter, however, if this is either the Roman or the Greek story, and she becomes mortal and they live happily ever after. What are some of the final thoughts on this, Dave? Like, what does this invoke for you? First of all, can I say this is Beauty and the Beast? This is literally tale as old as time. I mean,
sure.
This is, and when I say tale as old as time, this is pre-Gregorian calendar, so it's literally as old as time. She wasn't allowed to see his face. I mean, she should have just, like, what is that saying though? Like, what's the message being sent from the story? It almost promotes this mob wife mentality. Like, you've got your house, things are good, don't ask questions.
Or what would they call that? Like arranged marriages?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. But there's also some like good takeaways on this. It's like without trust and vulnerability, can't really have love, and maybe looks shouldn't matter. But this is definitely a story made for those really old guys that take like on like a very pretty young wife, and they're like, be happy.
How about like how your friends can be haters sometimes, and they can like kind of get in your ear, you know?
That's true too.
They might be jealous.
But that's absolutely true. And
they're not always jealous. Sometimes they're actually like being truthful and
like, dude, you haven't seen what they look like.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
He's a monster.
You know what I like about Cupid? That the story of him, it's obviously people are feeling love, and love is serendipitous, and it's not a choice, and it's not always convenient, but there's got to be some way to explain that, and Cupid provides that sort of there's an unknown force shooting you with an arrow, and now you have no choice but to be in love with this person you shouldn't be in love with, or whatever.
Right.
I think it's kind of awesome. I think it's kind of a cool little romantic tale.
Yeah. So that's like the origin story of Cupid. It would be interesting to know the origin story of Cupid.
Like, you want to know about baby Cupid, like in a stroller?
I want to know like why that story was created. To like, was it to explain what you just described? Like, why do we sometimes fall in love with people who don't love us back, or people we shouldn't love? Was that the purpose of making the story of
one
Cupid?
of the purposes? I think, unfortunately, that the purpose was probably the people in power are typically rich, and they get old, and when they get old, they still want a nice young woman, and they can, just, here's your beautiful life and your beautiful castle and all your servants, and it doesn't really matter what I look like. Don't even look at me. I'm invisible.
So why is he represented as a baby today?
Dave, I wish you wouldn't have asked me that, because I really don't know. Because babies are cute.
Ooh.
Oh, well, all right. I mean, I think for me, babies offer a very good explanation as to why we love and to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want me to go down this road?
Can you show me your sources for this?
My sources are the deepest, darkest recesses of my brain. Think about it, though. Can you bear with me for a second here? This is I'm going to tell you why we love right now. I'm going to skip over some of the things we're going to talk about, but we'll hopefully get back to it. But why we love, like when you think about a baby giraffe being born, have you ever talked to you about this?
I've seen it, but
yeah. All right. So you've seen it, and it walks away from its mom like it's going to get a part-time job after like 5 minutes of right.
So the thing freaking drops.
It drops. Like, it's on its feet. It's doing its own thing immediately. Humans are not like that. We have to be loved. We have to be taken care of. It's necessary for our parents to love us, because we're not equipped to be on our own until, I mean, look at Mike. I have a 15-year-old. He's not going to be on his own. So this love is for survival. So some philosophers would say that love is an illusion. It's a trick. It's a trick into procreation. And maybe that's true. But because without love, our species couldn't continue to exist. Because without love, we would leave babies on the ground and they would die immediately. So is love a trick of a biological trick? Maybe. But does that mean it's nothing? Because I think that the argument is, and happy Valentine's Day here, I think that means that love is everything. Because without it, the species could not exist. And that's just fact.
Well, without love, we also don't have personality.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't have interests. We definitely don't have passions. So it goes beyond even our connection to people. It literally goes on to our connection with our physical world.
I think that love is so interesting because it's got to be the most powerful emotion. It's more powerful than fear. It's more powerful than anger. It's more powerful than joy. It's more powerful than hate. It's more powerful than sadness and happiness. And why that is because love can create every single one of those emotions. Just imagine being in a relationship. You definitely have been angry with them. You fear that you're going to lose them. You've been joyous at times, briefly probably. You've hated them, I'm sure. They've made you sad. They've made you happy. Songs are written about them. This is why buildings are built. It's why we are alive. And I just want to shout out a couple of people here that had a really nice quote about love. Unless you have anything you want to add to this, Dave.
Go ahead, Greg.
Actually, you know what? I just read this thing today, and I'm sure you'll have something to say about this. And they asked Johnny Cash what was his idea of paradise. And he said, this morning, coffee with her. And obviously he was talking about his wife. And I think that's so out of touch. I just don't know if people really feel that way. Like, yeah. I think that most people like this morning when they left for work or whatever, like that's kind of love too. It's like more realistic. But we see love in music. We see love in so love is an illusion to trick us into procreation. That's Schopenhauer. Love is an escape from loneliness. It helps us to overcome the fears of the world. That's Bertrand Russell. I mean, Simone de Beauvoir, I love her. Love is an integration with another to fuse lives with meaning. This is like I don't know. It's just such a big subject. But I think a warning is, and Simone de Beauvoir says, but you should not live solely for that person you love because it denies your own existence. I think that's what people got to be careful for too.
I really can't wait for the day for me and your dad to do the episode about why dogs are better than humans. Because if you want to talk about love, there is no better connection to describe love than the love you get from a pet. Specifically dogs more than cats. Although cats are lovable, they pick and choose when they want to give love.
Yeah.
Dogs can't help it. If you have one of those dogs that when you come home, no matter how long you were gone, where you went, they are all over you. It is like the best feeling. And it's so pure.
It's so pure. And it's like, even as therapists, Dave, like you're taking on people's stuff. And then when you get home and you like hug your dog takes that all for you and just makes you feel so good. And I don't know what they do with it, but it's an amazing thing. Now, you and my dad did talk about this on Christmas. And what was the main? Do you remember the main theme of it? Like, why are dogs better than people? Because there was. I
think that's kind of. I think we said this whole line. It's like pure, unfiltered love. There's like no stronger sense of love than like just something that looks at you and doesn't judge or see flaws, or like it just looks at you and says, and it's like just with nothing but love and desire for food. But like that, food, yeah. But like in that moment, like the perfect example is I step into a room and that response, there's nothing there except for excitement.
Yeah.
Just like happiness and love. And that kind of
no one in the world would ever greet you with so much joy as a dog.
Not consistently, at least. Yeah. Not like
wow. You've walked into a room and had a human being like just lose their shit and just get all over you. Like you've had that happen. Dogs are so awesome. Like I've met dogs for the first time and they've made me feel like I was their best friend.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Pretty amazing.
They will put your safety over their own safety too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's on purpose.
Some are protective. Yeah. Like the protective factor is crazy. It's like, there is really something to that. But one of the things I wanted to point out though is we do associate Valentine's Day with love. And I think that's good. Yeah. That's cool.
It is. Yeah.
But if you take it from its origins, whether it's pagan or it's Christian, it is actually about mating.
Yeah.
And
that's the word you use.
It's like in the pagan tradition is literally about like getting a partner and you mate.
Yep.
In the Catholic sense, it's about the couple coming together in holy matrimony, but then with the purpose of mating.
Yeah. So they can mate.
Right. But so that is kind of like, so I think we think of Valentine's Day as this like nice day that we like celebrate with, a significant other, but it's actually more about a first meet, if you will, or a coming together, if you will.
That sounds dirty. And you're putting your hands together.
Yes.
like coming together or, oh geez, I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying though. It's actually almost about, so I think for singles, because this is like, there's an attitude that's happened over the past few decades that like Valentine's Day is a Hallmark holiday. Anyone who's single is supposed to feel depressed on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
If anything, if you're single, you should get out there on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, because it's not about that love, baby. It's about that love making.
But Greg, it could turn into love.
Okay. Yeah.
It could turn into love. It's about finding that partner for holy matrimony.
Well, it's about paying ancient Roman 7 minutes in heaven. You have a party, you put your names in a hat, and you go for it. I guess
Greg, that's so pagan of you.
No one's doing that anymore.
It's so pagan of you.
Like they're not celebrating this. This isn't about what is it? Whitman's fucking toothpaste chocolates. I mean, Whitman's proud sponsor of the podcast, but still, yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you have a good Valentine's Day? Have you had a good Valentine's Day? I mean, I've always let people down on Valentine's Day.
I feel like that's where like Valentine's Day kind of loses me sometimes. It's like this expectation. I think, and of course, it's like us two dudes,
who
are openly saying like we've never lived up to expectations.
I've not to say I haven't tried.
I think it should be more just about, you have maybe a nice dinner. Take on that like
a reservation.
Even if we look at it from its origins, it's like a feast. You should have a nice meal, and it's about spending time with someone who means something to you, or that you feel is worthwhile enough to spend that time with.
Somehow, it's also about dogs. If you listen to this podcast,
that's love, baby.
That's love, baby. So I remember one Valentine's Day. The only thing I remember is I went shopping and I tried my best, and I bought a beautiful bamboo. You look at they're lucky, and it's like cool. They come in like a cool vase, kind of.
They're also invasive.
Oh well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize they're an invasive.
Do not plant that in your yard.
It's an insult. I was told this. I remember the quote. Thanks for getting me sticks for Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
It's like, I guess on the surface it's a stick, but it's beautiful. I thought it was something else, and it had like a little meaning and everything too. So whatever.
Those sticks were meaningful, and I feel bad that those sticks weren't appreciated.
You know who would appreciate a stick? A dog.
Yeah, they would love you for that stick. Yeah. Right? I can say that many a mixtape have been made for Valentine's Day on my end.
You're a heart melter. That even just the thought of it.
Mixtapes were my thing.
What about a CD?
Then it went to mixed CDs, and now it's nothing. I can't do any of that stuff.
No, now you can send a playlist.
Like a Spotify playlist now.
Yeah, you send that.
Lame.
What is it?
I need some physical media, bro.
The music you sing on a ship. That's what people are sending each other. What was that? Like the sea shanties.
Sea shanties?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I was thinking about this earlier because one of the things I heard was like one of the first written Valentines recorded was in 1400 by a guy named Charles, the Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London. So that's one of the first ones. And I think about how like that's sort of romantic. Like he's writing to his wife from prison in the Tower of London. And then like what we do nowadays for kids. And I was thinking about like 90s Valentines.
Oh yeah, baby.
And it's so funny because like we would get these like boxes of Valentines that we were going to hand out to pretty much our whole class, but maybe we had someone in mind that we really wanted to give the good one to. Mm-hmm. I remember buying like Michael Jordan Valentine's cards. Like it didn't matter that it was like something I want. It was like in my interest. Like I wasn't thinking about what will they find nice.
Hey, well, if that little girl's not interested in what you're interested in, Dave, she doesn't really deserve.
She doesn't like Michael Jordan. Then you know what? Screw her.
So here's some well, I always had Garfield, and
Garfield were big.
Garfield was big, and he would be like it would be like his arm holding the little heart, just beautiful. Yeah. Here's some quick. Well, should I give the unsolicited relationship advice real quick? Is that the time for it, or?
You're in a place to give relationship advice? All right.
Really?
If you feel it.
I mean, not
I'll
really.
Keep my mouth shut.
I think, well, here's what I think it should be like. When you're in a relationship, I think that, and it's really simple, you're not responsible for each other's happiness. That's what I'm thinking about with the Michael Jordan card. Like, you're not responsible to make someone else happy. And you're not that's not your job to make them happy. But what you are responsible for is to not get in the way of their happiness. I think that's the key to relationships. Although, don't ask me.
Yeah. And Michael Jordan's cool. So, like, if you don't appreciate Michael Jordan, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Michael Jordan. I don't know why you would go sports themed on Valentine's.
I don't know. They were there.
It is in bad taste. I mean, it really is.
All right. You stick with your Odie.
Oh, Odie's the man. All right, Dave. Well, I think that I feel very warm and very tender. Oh,
do you listen to love songs?
Oh yeah. Yep. I'll trade in all my tomorrows for a single yesterday. That's Janis Joplin. That's love. How's that not love? Why were you gonna hit me with something?
Guess that's love right there.
You're gonna hit me with a love song?
Do you consider your musical taste to be more love oriented? I'm always trying to try to gauge your musical taste because you've never been able to really solidly tell me what kind of music you listen to.
I listen to a lot of harps.
I think you just listen to podcasts.
Yes.
You just listen to this podcast.
I just listen to this podcast over again, and you know what? It's music to me. Yeah. It's music to my ears. Listen, if I got to be honest, I'm a huge Beatles fan. That's a lot of love.
They have some songs about love, don't they?
Oh, most of them. Yeah, I guess I am. I think I am a love-oriented person. I think I'm a romantic.
Yeah, you sound like it right now.
Well, we're in the mood for it.
Well, we're not in the same room at least, so that's good.
That's good. No lupercalia here, Dave.
My goats are staying alive tonight.
That's right. No. Plus, I mean, you can whip us all one. I'm never gonna get fertile.
TMI.
All right, yeah, that's how you know the podcast has gone on too long.
Okay. Well, everybody, hopefully you're listening to this on the day it came out, because that's when podcasts are the most fresh, I heard. Yeah. So
hot off the press.
This will give you all the knowledge you need to know going into this Valentine's Day. So when you sit across from your significant other and you look them in the eyes, you tell them, Dave and Greg said, this is all that we need right here. Yeah. You listen to this and we'll be together. The couple that listens to this stays together. And it should rhyme, but it doesn't. What they say. That's what they say. Yeah. Well, and let's do it quick, because come March or February 15th, no one's going to care. Exactly. So just like it happened with the Christmas episodes. So we hope that you guys have a great Valentine's Day. Go do some pagan origin stuff, or do it. You deserve it. Or engage in holy matrimony, whatever you will. And no matter what, just know Dave and Greg love you. And poetry, and love songs, and pet your dog. And haikus. Ooh. And limericks. Yes. And iambic pentameter for those Shakespeare lovers. You know what I wish I read for this Valentine season? Sonnet 18 Shakespeare. Yeah, that was it. I did read that, and I was going to recite that too. But I talked about Cupid for 15 minutes. Yeah, I know. I was like, whoa. Well, I told you, Dave. I mean, it's not easy, and I skipped a lot. You did warn me. Yeah. You can do anything as long as you give a warning, I heard. That's pretty much the way it works. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you haven't done so, consider giving a rating or review. We really appreciate it. It helps us spread the word, algorithms or something like that, I'm told. So if you do that, we will gladly give you a shout out on here, and we will just be forever indebted to you. But hopefully we don't know you in real life, so we don't actually have to follow up on that. So, yeah. Everyone, have a great night. We'll talk to you later. Peace out.